Jackson Lucas and the Beyond the Resume podcast celebrate Affordable Housing Month. This May, we're bringing back some of our favorite interviews from past seasons of affordable housing leaders who continue to shape the real estate world. Thank you for tuning in. Now, here is Chris Papa.
All right, folks, welcome. I am your host, Chris Papa, and today we got a very special guest, Mr. RJ Pasquesi. RJ is the president at KCG Companies in Indianapolis, Indiana. How you doing, RJ?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am great. It is pouring out. I'm in Manhattan today, and I usually, live half the time in California where there's a drought. So I'm not used. I don't know what this wet stuff is falling from the sky. How are things in Indianapolis?
We are the same today. We are very wet and cool, but the next couple of days, fortunately, are going to be some nice fall days, mid 50s and sunny. So you gotta like that.
That sounds great. Have you been in? I've actually never been to Indianapolis. I remember we had the Super Bowl there a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, we had it here in 20. Oh, geez, when was it? Like sometime between 2012 and 2016.
Somewhere. I remember everyone saying it's such a walkable city, or it's such an easy city to get around. I just remember people saying good things about it.
Yeah, no, it got, one, they lucked out because the Super Bowl that week in February, the weather here was in the 60s. So people were able to be outside and walk around. But yeah, and the downtown here does a really nice job. I mean, they host the Final Four once every 4 years. They host the Big Ten championship football game, every year. So they host a lot of, relatively speaking, big events, and they do the convention center, and the sporting community here does a great job of putting on these big events.
That's awesome. Did you grow up there?
I did not. I actually grew up in a northern suburb of Chicago. So my bride grew up here in a northern suburb of Indianapolis. We met at Indiana University, spent some time after college in Chicago, spent some time in Florida, and then we've been here in the Indianapolis area for almost 15 years now.
Nice. I guess you like it, huh?
Yeah, Indy's you know what? If we weren't here, we probably would have been in Chicago. And, Indy's a great town to raise a family. You don't have the congestion issues you do in Chicago. You don't have the high taxes, some of the other things. And you still have some sports life here. The food scene is getting a lot better in Indy. I mean, honestly, when I first moved here, that was the biggest thing I missed from Chicago was the food. But Indy's doing a great job with a lot of local chefs are starting to kind of create their own restaurants, and that helps out tremendously.
It seems to be more of more capital's flowing there, at least in the real estate world. Like I have clients in New York who are buying properties there. So you seeing that too?
Yeah, we've definitely seen that in the Indianapolis area over the last, I'd say, since the Great Recession, with more money from the coast looking at opportunities here. Indianapolis you've got a lot of good markets that have had solid growth and particularly good rent growth. So there's definitely opportunities here. Having said that, with Casey, we haven't done anything yet in Indiana. We've got our first couple deals under contract, so we're going to change that up. But it is a good market, and it's not as sexy as some of the coast places, but it's usually a very stable market that you can count on.
Well, you may not have any deals there, but you've formed a company there. So let's talk about that. What is KCG Companies?
Yeah, we are a developer, owner, general contractor of apartment communities, both for active seniors and families. And the majority of what we are doing right now is on the affordable or workforce housing side. We are starting to look at options to diversify a little bit with doing some conventional or market rate deals, but our bread and butter is in the affordable housing space, and it's something we know well, we do well, and we're excited about doing.
Awesome. And then the active elder space, active senior. What exactly is that? I've heard that before too. What exactly is that?
So it's a 55 and older community. And then why it's active community is we do not provide any nursing or care options. It's independent living for these individuals. And there are some services we provide, but it's not, like on the continuum of care.
Would you develop that or because is that some sort of subsidy too? Or is that just, why make it strictly that age group?
Well, I think from our standpoint, we view that's a market that is continuing to grow, right? With the baby boomers as they get older, we think it's a population that needs to be served. And that's where we kind of see the opportunity with that.
Was that any correlation with the affordable side too? Is there any sort of active senior on the affordable side too?
Yeah, that's right. We do the senior stuff. It's in the affordable housing space.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And then you're doing senior, is it like tax credit stuff or what kind of affordable?
Yes, so it is with the low income housing tax credits, and we also do that on the family side as well.
Very cool. And then where are you? You said you're about to close on some deals in Indianapolis. Where do you have your deals now or your properties?
Yeah, so we have deals that are either operational or in construction right now in Texas, with the majority of those in the Austin area, Georgia with the majority in Atlanta, Virginia, upstate New York, and Wisconsin is where we currently have properties and that are, as I said, either operational or in construction. And then we have, in addition to that, we currently have properties under contract that we're working on in various stages of development in Indiana, Ohio, Maryland, South Carolina as well.
You guys sound pretty busy.
Yeah, we are staying very busy.
Have you found yourself busier lately? Has like the last couple of years more than a couple of years before that? And how about like during COVID times?
Our organization is only 5 years old. So, the ramp up, took us a little bit to build that momentum behind us. But now that we've got that momentum rolling, it's really picking up. And so I would say we're definitely probably busier now than we've ever been, just from the standpoint of all the work we've put into building relationships, cultivating opportunities is starting to pay off. As far as COVID, I truly feel blessed given the industry I'm in that we've been impacted with delays, whether it be material delays to our projects, delays with subs, getting us people on site, maybe with city approvals we need. But relatively speaking, we're kind of business as usual right now as far as continuing to plow forward on everything we're working on. So relative to some of my other friends who are in retail or commercial or, they're just unfortunately getting crushed.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And why do you choose the different excuse me for my ignorance, why do you choose the different areas to invest in with the affordable? I know housing, I know each state has like their different rules and regulations, right? And they're all allotted a certain amount of tax credits. Is there a reason you pick certain areas to invest in and not others?
Yeah. So you are correct that each state gets allocated credits, and then they are allowed to create their own rule guide that you have to follow if you want to get credits in that particular state. And yes, as far as how we originally picked the markets we wanted to be in is from my prior firm, I had an opportunity in my prior firm to work in about 17 different states. And so had a lot of exposure outside of Indiana. And when I started KCG, there were certain states I'd worked in that I really liked how their agencies were run, the way the program was administered. And then you add on top of that, right, it had good demographic information, good growth prospects, etc. And those were kind of the states we initially focused on. So, i.e. Texas, Georgia, another state we initially got into, which most people don't find particularly sexy, but the agency's very good and the markets are very stable, is Wisconsin. And then we've kind of expanded on our footprint through people we've hired, have had experience in some other states, and then we've also targeted some new markets that we really want to be in. And so some of those newer markets that we've identified where the demographics make sense, et cetera, is kind of Maryland and Virginia, around the DC area. And then we also really like kind of South Carolina with the growth that's going on there. And Ohio, really that Columbus area, we feel it's got some great growth prospects there.
Very interesting. How did you get into affordable housing? I mean, it's not like, it's a difficult asset class to kind of navigate, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is talking about pigeonholing yourself with a knowledge that you really can't take anywhere else. But it was pure fluke. I mean, I graduated from college with a finance degree, got into banking, initially did some on the commercial side, and then got into investment banking, decided I didn't like that and wanted to get in real estate. And so was doing some initially single family home developments. And my wife and I wanted to move to Indianapolis and interviewed with several firms here in the Indy area, and there was a local group here that was looking to hire someone in their finance area, which is kind of where my expertise was in helping them raise debt and equity for their deals. And they kind of put it out there that, hey, we'd help teach you the development side. And well, their biggest thing they did was affordable housing and utilizing tax credits. And honestly, I had never heard of tax credits prior to meeting this company. And so that first 6 months to a year was a huge learning curve for me to learn all about this and in the different ways of how the program works and the requirements and the rules. But as I got more into it, you just, from any other type of industry class, it's not very often, right, where you are, not only do you get stimulated with the challenge of it, like typical real estate, but you're also, the benefit and the good you are doing for your prospective tenants is unbelievable. And when you kind of combine all of that together, it just makes working in this business, working in this industry so fulfilling.
That's great. Well, I guess let's start from kind of the beginning here. You grew up in northern suburbs of Chicago. You went to school in Indiana. Did you have like, and you're an entrepreneur and you started your own company. So, I mean, did you grow up in any sort of environment like that where it was finance or real estate or entrepreneurship?
No. So I grew up the ninth of 10 kids.
No way.
Big, if you can imagine, Italian Catholic family. So
yeah,
I had that going for me. And my dad was for the majority of his career, a high school physics teacher. So there was not a lot of entrepreneurship in my family. And actually most of my siblings kind of do social work or are teachers and stuff like that. So I'm considered one of the black ducks in the family, being in the business world. And so, for me, when I went to college, I always envisioned I was going to be on Wall Street, and that's what I wanted to do. And when I got there, I realized, I didn't enjoy that aspect because you didn't have a tangible asset you could go touch and see of what you're doing with your day-to-day life. And so that's where real estate for me really interested me, was I could always go see it, you can touch it, you can see what you're creating. And it gives your imagination, you get to put that to work, your creativity, etc.
That's awesome. And then, so you worked at a bank, right, for a while on the securities side of it?
Yeah, I did. I was on the investment banking side.
Gotcha. You think that was good training?
Oh, it was great training. Absolutely great training. Learning. So I started in the commercial lending side. So learning how banks evaluate risk and how they mitigate it. And then going to the investment banking side, that was all, in my opinion, such a base to set for myself coming out of school to learn those aspects and then be able to take that to real estate, which, a lot of people in the real estate industry don't have that type of expertise. And I think it definitely has helped me through my career, being able to understand a lot of the different aspects of where lenders are coming from, where investors are coming from, and being able to find solutions then that work for all involved and get deals done.
Yeah. And then you moved to Indianapolis, joined a real estate shop there that did affordable housing, right? And that's how you kind of learned the ins and outs of that, correct? And what, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of smart people that work at real estate shops, but most of them don't go on to start their own firms. What was it about you, or what did you see out there that made you feel like, hey, I'm going to take the leap and start this on my own?
Yeah. I think for me, it was more about, at the end of the day, about being able to control my own destiny and how we do business. And it's very important to me that business is done the right way, right? That you honor your word, that you do what you say you're going to do, except. And to me, that was one of my biggest reasons for wanting to do it. I didn't want to, if I'm going to be out there selling myself for a company, I needed to be able to back up what I was selling. And when somebody else is making the decisions, you don't have the ability to do that.
Gotcha. Cool. And then, so what is it like to make the first, how do you do that? What do you do? You go out and you find a deal and all right, I'm doing this on my own. I got to raise some capital, especially on the affordable side. How do you first do your first deal?
Yeah, so I would say I was very fortunate when I left my prior firm, having spent a lot of time already in this industry and building, I think, a pretty decent reputation for myself, that when I left, I had a lot of people, individuals, and groups reach out to me about various opportunities. And some of those individuals reached out to me about, we would like to partner with you as your capital to kind of make your vision and your dream a reality. And so I was fortunately able to find a great partner that believed in what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish as far as an organization. And we were able to start kind of with the ground running. Within a couple weeks of starting the company, we had 3 or 4 other deal makers working for me, and we were kind of off and running.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So what does the company look like now? You have a big head count? Are you guys when you say development, are you guys buying existing properties and redeveloping them, and are you guys doing ground up development? What does that look like?
Yeah, so Chris, we've done a mix of both new construction. We've done acquisition rehabs where we buy existing properties, and then we've also done several historic adaptive reuse projects.
Those always sound so cool. Like, I'm taking this old mill and turning it into something. That just seems really cool.
I will say it is very cool, the finished product. Process to get there can be very painful, as no matter how much diligence you do on those, you always end up having unforeseen issues, conditions arise, and your costs end up being a lot higher than you ever thought they would be. But at the end of the day, yes, when you look at the finished product, you are blown away and you're like, wow. I mean, they just knock it out of the park with how they end up. But the pain to get there is sometimes you scratch your head and go, why'd I do this again?
Yeah, I like the before and after pics.
Exactly. You don't want to hear about the middle part.
That's one of the reasons I'm not a developer.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
What is like the head count of your company? How hard was it to hire good people, and what was the growth trajectory as far as just building the company out that way?
Yeah, so we are currently around 36 people.
Wow, pretty big.
And most of that growth has really occurred over the last 2 years. So as I kind of mentioned, when we started the company, it was there's 4 or 5 of us pretty much right out of the gate. And it took us a little bit to build the momentum of getting some deals done. In the affordable space, one of the difficulties or challenges is that these deals have a long burn time before you can finally get them to a table. And so, quickest you might ever get an affordable deal done is, 12 months. Most of them, I would say, are close to 2 years from the time you put it under contract. And so it takes time to build that pipeline and get those deals closing. And so we, our first, I'm trying to think here, our first year, of course, we didn't close any deals with just trying to build the pipeline. The second year, we were fortunate to close a couple deals. And then the next year we closed a couple. And we've now, each year we've kind of ramped up a little more and more. And, we're looking forward to 2021 being our best year yet as we continue to, as I said, it takes a while to get that inertia going, that momentum going as you push that boulder up the hill. And I think we finally got it at the top of the hill here. And 2021, we're really going to feel that boulder with us going down that hill as we start to hit on all cylinders.
That's awesome. You're the president. So, what is the president's, it encompasses a lot in that title. What are your main responsibilities at the company? Like, what is the president, like, what do you feel like your main job, to run that company? What's the main kind of, factors that go into it?
So the main aspects, I would say, are really strategy, direction for the organization overall. And then on top of that, the areas that I focus on is I run our development team and our finance team. So making sure that we have a strong pipeline and we're closing the deals. And so that's kind of where a lot of my focus is spent.
What about culture? How important is culture, and how do you keep that up?
Yeah, that is a great question. Culture is important. One of the things I would say in our organization that I think it has made it hard for us to have a consistent culture is we are so spread out. Even though we're headquartered here in Indy, our construction company is headquartered out of Philly. We've got a lot of our developers are remote, living in the markets that they work in. A lot of our construction team is remote. So it's hard to create, it's been hard so far to create a consistent culture across that, but we're trying to build that culture, and we're stubbing our toe at it, but we're going to continue to try different things and to get it to where we want it to be.
You mentioned you might be looking into more workforce housing, less not non-affordable product, right? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, so it's more the conventional market rate stuff. It's more from a diversification standpoint of there's more certainty of success in your execution, right? In the affordable world, as we mentioned before, those credits are allocated, they're competitive. And so you could spend a lot of time on a potential project and it never happens because you can't get those credits. And so affordable is going to continue to be our bread and butter and where 80 to 90% of our business is done, but we want to have some diversification of some more certainty on execution with the conventional deals, as well as targeting a different demographic. And so that's kind of how we're looking at it.
When you're trying to finance an affordable deal, you get the tax credits, right? But then you get some other, the capital stack is quite diverse. Is there what are the other kind of components of it? You have to go to the community banks, or not the community banks, but the Bank of America has I guess their community bank or whatever. What are the different components of the capital stack usually?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say my preference is the capital stack is simple and it is just made up of the federal tax credits that we sell plus a loan from a bank and maybe a little deferred fee from us to make it done. So that is our preference. We'd prefer every deal was that way. It makes it a little simpler, but in the affordable world, a lot of times you're not able to make that work. And so fortunately, depending upon the state, you're working in, there are other sources of funds that you can tap into, whether they be a home loan from the state, a city. There are funds called CDBG loans. Some states have trust funds. Some municipalities have their own funds. So, I mean, we have, if we need it, we are always looking for where we can get other sources, and then working with the either at the state level, the county level, or local level to be able to obtain those resources to make our deal work.
Gotcha. And is it hard? Do you have to are you constantly out there as a president, trying to form these relationships generally?
Yeah, you definitely want to be, you need to be out there on a regular basis, building relationships, letting them know what you're trying to do. And also we have found in a couple markets in particular that we went into some communities and just said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we want to do. Is this something your community needs? And some of them say, yeah, here are some sites we think you should go check out. And we went and checked them out, and we were able to make them work. And they're throwing additional dollars at us to help us make it happen. And so that's definitely helped us out tremendously, kind of taking that type of approach.
It's great. And do you guys do your own management? Are you third party that?
We currently third party all management, but the vision for the company is at some point we will bring management in-house.
You like having headaches? I don't know. I've never done it myself, but I've heard from people. I guess you have a lot more control, right?
Exactly right. It comes down to a control factor. So
it's awesome. And so 2021, you said, is going to be a big year for you guys. What do you picture you guys doing in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, I anticipate our organization, closing, probably between, 6,000 to 8,000 units is probably the plan. And that's probably going to be over a course of, 30 to 40 deals or so.
That's awesome. And as far if you're talking to a young person out there who's trying to get into real estate, they probably don't. I think most people don't consider, I'm going to get into affordable housing. I don't think they even really know what it is. Can you just kind of tell them the benefits of getting involved in that, and the experience you can gain as a young person getting involved in this asset class?
Sure. I do have to make one comment before I dive into that. I have been surprised with some of the kids I have spoken to over the last couple of years who their colleges now actually do have classes that do cover the tax credit program.
Really? That's awesome.
So they have more knowledge than I did 10 years after I graduated college. So that I'm happy to see that actually universities are focusing on it as a asset class and something to learn about. But for me, I think when you talk to individuals about it, as I hit on before earlier with you, I think the biggest benefit of it is you get all of the benefits you do in other real estate classes, of the challenge of dealing with real estate, dealing with municipalities, plus in the affordable space, it's a lot more finance oriented, just with the way how the tax credits are calculated, issues you have to be concerned about for your investors and lenders. And then lastly is the component of the impact you are having. There's no offense to other real estate classes, but it's, we are truly providing housing for those individuals who might not be able to afford a quality place to live without what we are doing here. And, that feeling of meeting these individuals who live in these communities and then telling you where they moved from. It's that feeling, you can't top it.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great answer too. Thank you. Well, are you ready now for the hot seat?
Sure. Let's go.
Any books you recommend, whether it's involved with real estate, life, romance, whatever. Any books that you would recommend people read?
Yes, I am an avid reader. And so, of course, I'm going to recommend two books that I have recently read. So one is Your Next 5 Moves by, I can't think of the author right now. And then the other one is and really just talking about it just talks about getting older in life and having to think about the next phase and how healthcare should and hopefully will be able to help you make decisions that are best for you when you are coming to the end of your life. And that's one I actually just recently read and was really enjoyed that. And your next 5 moves is really, I think, for anyone who's looking to be an entrepreneur, helping you think about what are the steps and the moves you might need to make to take your business to kind of the next level.
Nice. I'll check those out. And now I usually ask what podcast you recommend. I'm not sure if you're a podcast listener, but since COVID started, I also ask what TV series are you watching? Because I need some new TV series. So you can answer both or either.
Okay. So you are correct. I am not a podcast listener. On the television show, I recommend Yellowstone and Schitt's Creek. Yeah. So those are 2 I would recommend.
Yellowstone is it's kind of like a rich family in Yellowstone or something like that. I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's a rancher kind of versus casinos who are trying to come in. So
kind of sounds like Dallas or something. J.R. Ewing. What do you like to do outside of work?
So I enjoy golf. That's kind of my big hobby, but I also enjoy traveling with my family. And then my girls are all very involved in sports, whether it be soccer or basketball. And I absolutely love watching my kids play sports. So I'm now living vicariously through them since I am too old to play all these sports now.
Every good parent should, right? What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? Wasn't that long ago.
That is a great question. I would say don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's okay to make mistakes. You just gotta, and it's not even a mistake. You gotta look at them as a learning opportunity. And I think if I look back at my younger self, I was always so concerned about making sure I was doing the right thing and not always putting myself out there that I feel like I missed out a little bit. And so that would probably be the biggest thing I would say to my 20-year-old self.
Good answer. What do you look for? What qualities do you look for when you're hiring people? Since I am a recruiter, so people kind of might be listening like, what kind of qualities should I exhibit when I'm interviewing or trying to get a job? Like, what do you look for generally?
Yeah, I truly look for somebody who's a self-starter, very motivated and aspirational. And someone who can prove that they can learn. My take is you can teach them the skills they need to be successful at their job, but I've never been able to teach somebody how to be motivated and want to achieve greater things. And if you come in with that and that energy, I'll hire you all day long.
Just point them in the right direction, right?
Exactly.
Well, RJ Pasquesi, president of the KCG Companies, thank you for your time. That was great.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Resume, a Jackson Lucas podcast where we take a deep dive into the career journeys of some of the top minds in real estate and equip you with the knowledge to move forward in your path towards the success you've envisioned. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Beyond the Resume. We're grateful for your support. All episodes of Beyond the Resume are brought to you by Jackson Lucas, building inclusive and diverse businesses through talent acquisition. Visit us at jacksonlucas.com.